From MZ Studios in Dallas, Texas, you're listening to the Tennis Revolution podcast.
We are back.
That's right.
I almost didn't want to. I almost didn't want to.
Because you didn't want to hear me celebrating.
We should rehearse. Just one time. One time.
I never get to brag this early in the show.
No, but I'm coming at you, and you Eminem'd me. You Eminem'd me.
That sounds like a compliment. I don't know what that means.
Have you not seen 8 Mile?
I have.
Remember where he goes first in the last, by the way, spoiler alert, from 08. Or was it after?
That's got to be earlier than that.
08? Yeah, you know what?
It's like 98.
No, definitely
it's not that early, but it's like 2000-ish.
Yeah, 2002.
Okay.
So, yeah, spoiler alert, 17 years later, if you haven't figured it out. No, he preemptively raps about how broke down he is, so the other guy's got nothing. So I'm about to come at you, and you took it away from me. You took it away from me.
Because I knew you weren't going to give me credit. You were going to find some way to get out of it.
You took it away from me, almost like Switzerland tried to take away USA's Fed Cup World Group hopes. We'll talk about that later because we never start with women.
Right.
Because
and that's pretty sad considering it was in Texas.
Well, yeah, sort of.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Doesn't matter.
A lesser known part of Texas.
No.
Not lesser known, but less
it's the 8th largest city
populated.
It's not even close. San Antonio is the 8th largest city in the country, you dum-dum.
Compared to where we are.
All you had to do was talk. That's it. That's all you had to do was talk, and I had you.
I love San Antonio.
I do too.
My favorites.
Love it. I lived there for a year when I first moved to Texas.
There you go.
I've been to the Freeman Coliseum.
Look at that.
Which is where Fed Cup is being held. Oh, why not? You want to talk about Fed Cup? The problem is one of the matches is not done. And so the fifth rubber is not done.
Yeah, learn from me and don't talk about a match while it's still going.
So I've heard. So I've heard. Not on the podcast, because I'll be doggone if I'm going to listen to your podcast. All right, so Fed Cup was going on, and for all of those sexists out there, that's women's tennis. So Fed Cup is actually women's work, technically. So the semifinals of the real group, the world group, is going on, and then America, we lost in the first round of the old world group. So
why are we still playing?
Because we are trying to keep from getting relegated to. That's a good point.
But why is that on the same weekend? I think it's funny the Tennis Channel showing that instead of the group that. Could you imagine any other sport doing that?
Agreed. Yeah. But I will say this. Well, yeah, soccer does that. They're going to show if you live in
that's true.
Some awful. By the way, I have a new team. I think I told everybody Newcastle. But if Newcastle is in the Premier League, Sunderland, their hated rival, which is now my hated rival. Apparently, I hate them. I guess I don't know why, but hey, that's what I'm told. They're in a group or two down. But if you live in Sunderland, you don't care about Newcastle. You're watching your awful whatever group way down, pub league kind of stuff.
Well,
anyway,
they do show the Cowboys here in every week 17. That never means anything.
Yeah, and if there was relegation, they'd certainly be.
So that's the same concept, I guess.
They'd be Division III football by now if there was relegation.
But it was just funny turning it on.
I agree. I agree.
Now, they did show some of the real one, too.
Now, my trusty phone with Tennis Channel Plus was a disaster. So I had to get my laptop, which is not convenient. How pitiful is that a laptop is not convenient when that's what it's designed to be?
Right.
But the phone is way more convenient. But I couldn't get signed in right. I couldn't get the match up. And I promise you it's not user error. Because let me tell you.
Which would be unusual.
I got Game of Thrones up on my phone. All right. So I can do it.
Well, that is the problem when you're switching from different devices. Trying to log in, it always seems to be an issue.
Yeah. So anyway, I went ahead and got on my laptop, and I was watching France, Romania. High drama.
A Romanian match with drama. It's shocking.
In Rouen. which it's Rouen if you're English,
right.
but Rouen if you're French. France was hosting Romania, and Halep says, "Hey, I'm going to win this year's Fed Cup if it's the last thing I do." Guess what? She didn't. Another spoiler alert, please. But high drama because it came down to the fifth rubber. And you have Simona Halep, who's not a doubles player, but one of the best players in the world.
Right.
Roger Federer would have something to say about that. One of the best players in the world, and so she was trying to just out-tennis.
I was going to say none of her game favors doubles.
Yeah.
Though.
Well, no, her return.
That's true.
And it's one up, one back dubs, even at the highest level, and so cross-court forehands are, and
right.
backhands. So she was trying her best to just out-tennis a doubles team with Mladenovic, who's a good doubles player.
Well, we've joked about this before, how doubles means nothing all year long until it gets to 2-2 in Fed Cup, and it means everything.
They should just play it first and get it over with. They hate it.
Right.
They hate it.
Oh, that's like the team that's up 2-1, their number one motivation isn't winning. It's don't make us play doubles.
Right. Yeah, let's get us out of here. So on one half, you had Belarus in Australia, which came down to a 3-2.
I actually saw more of that than the Americans, so I guess I did see a little of that.
Yeah. And then France-Romania also came down to 3-2.
Now, Belarus in the main group and not America. That's discouraging.
Yes.
To say the least.
Yes.
Even Australia to be in the main group and not America.
At least. Well, again, you only need two players, really.
Yeah. When we remember we played our 5 and 6 in the first round.
Yes. Yes. Not good.
Right.
Not good. And again, we were able to see in Fed Cup a potentially stark difference in terms of what we're going to be doing in Davis Cup. We got to see that because this home, the home ice advantage, and I know it's hockey and the Penguins are out, but I won't let go. So you get the home court advantage in the locker room, apparently, is some of these Australians really are fond of saying.
Yeah.
And so all that kind of stuff. And we get to see it and remind us, oh, is this any good? And then we're going to compare it later to the men and how they've taken our idea and made a disaster out of Davis Cup, honestly. Right. So now, again, the home fans, that added a ton to France and Romania because it was a 3-2 match and It came down to the fifth rubber. And, I don't know, you'd have to ask the players. I don't know how much that mattered, but it seemed to spur the doubles team on that I watched. I didn't get to see a lot of the singles, but got to watch the entire doubles match.
Well, and I'm sure we would never do any research, but I'm sure the home team has a higher winning percentage.
Who cares?
In Fed Cup, so
yeah,
it's got to mean something.
Now, to me, the number one problem for Fed Cup or Davis Cup. What's your number one problem with it?
Oh, just lack of visibility. I mean, I just think it's not, part of what people think of as being important in tennis in terms of what applies to both of them.
Right. That's a symptom.
You're right.
That's a symptom. And so here's my cure. Not once every year. Yeah. I think they should go to at least every other year and put each gender every year.
I was going to say, I would
men,
be fine
women,
with
men,
once
women,
a year
men, women.
If they were combined. And I don't even necessarily mean combined in the teams are combined, just the events. Then I'd be fine with it once a year, or I'm fine with your idea too of every other year, because then we're still watching it once a year, but they're only each gender's only playing once a year.
So watching, but watching the meaningfulness of Halep, in her eyes or whatever, that was dumb, but just hearing her comments. Such a huge goal for her to win, and she didn't. And I'm like, oh, gee whiz, devastated. Oh, wait. You'll be playing in about 2 weeks. You'll start the first round. Who cares? So it does mean a lot, yes. But as long as you've got two good players in their prime, you're in the mix.
Yeah.
And particularly if one of them is top 5 in the world.
And so you didn't say what your biggest problem is.
Oh, that it's every year.
It's every year, yeah. So it's not often. Well, and I don't think it really rewards the best team.
Well, I've got issues with the format, too.
Right.
Like we talked about, you look at all these matches, and not the best players did not play.
Right.
In every match. So,
at least if you have four, if you had 4 players from each team that had to play, you get a much better representation of who the better country is, as opposed to just taking 2.
Yeah, and that's okay. I don't mind that part of it. I don't mind the format in regards to singles 1 and 2, and then reverse singles, and then the doubles to break the tie. I've got no problem with that. But I think that the fact that it happens every year means that players aren't always going to play it.
Right.
And if they don't all play it, and it doesn't, then it's going to lose its meaning to me.
Well, and I don't know when I'm sure they said this, but I don't know when the finals are, but it seems like it's always in the fall. So from the time the finals is to when the next season starts, it's about 3 months.
Yeah.
Or less. So that's the other issue.
It's like a grind for them.
Right. It's hard to get jazzed up for it when it just ended and then it's restarting again.
So here's who we had for the women. Sophia Kenin and Madison Keys against Australia in the World Cup first round. And then Danielle Collins came in.
I thought Stevens played first round, no?
No.
Oh, I thought she played Saturday.
No. First.
Oh, the first round, not today.
Yeah, back in the day against Australia.
Yeah.
And then Danielle Collins came in for the 4th rubber, and then it came down to the 5th match, which is doubles, and we lost 4 and 5. So came down to the wire, but good Lord. Was that our best lineup, do you think? I mean, so now.
We talked about that when it happened. It was kind of frustrating.
So now we come to the World Cup playoffs, which, by the way, spoiler alert, this time, Sophia Kenin closed it out for us. So in the first match, rubber 1, if you will. I hate that word so much. The first match, Madison Keys looked pitiful.
Who just won a clay court tournament.
Pitiful.
Like 10 days ago.
Looked pitiful. She lost 2 and 3 and just looked out of sorts. So then Sloane.
And it was a home match for us, so we have every advantage.
Right. So Sloane comes in, hard court. Sloane comes in, indoor, so big hitter, that should help.
Right.
So then Sloane comes in the second rubber and beats Tamea Baczynski 4 and 3. A little shaky early, but she pretty much rolled.
Right.
And then the third rubber, so now Stevens plays Golubic.
Yeah, and they're without their best player, by the way.
Yes. And that was 3 and 2 pretty easily. So then, of course, the reverse singles, right? So Madison Keys comes in. Oh, wait a minute. Madison Keys didn't play. Sophia Kenin played in a match that mattered.
Which is pretty crazy.
But she won 3 and 6. And so she came through against Baczynski. And then the doubles is Jen Brady and Jessica Pegula, which probably wouldn't have been those two if – I don't think so.
No.
Anyway.
Well, and you've had players, that you've had to take out or lower in your lineup when they lose confidence or whatever, but to get taken out of Fed Cup at home when you're a top 20 player.
And you need that win. That win was going to keep us in the world group.
Right, unless we hear something about an injury. And we lost. Pretty shocking.
Yeah, and we lost the first match. So we were on the back foot.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, obviously it was a good call to pull her, to pull Keys and put in Kenin because it worked.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe we thought because their doubles lineup is not spectacular, but again, who knows who they would have put in. So, again, the same issue for me rears its ugly head that Davis Cup had when they were at this format, and that the best players don't care that much. So,
I know, and it's funny to me, like, it almost makes you wonder if it's lip service for Halep to be saying that, because I can't imagine if she's writing down her list of 5 things she wants to accomplish remaining her career. can't imagine that's on that list. But then again, she's already done. She's already done everything else. So
I disagree completely. I wish you would have stuck with it. So finally, we could disagree. But no, I think she's all in, and she's out now. But she was all in, and so I think it is important.
I know Americans aren't patriotic, but I don't get why. Because when we talk about her career after, it's not going to be she won Fed Cup. It's going to be she won, however many Grand Slams, and she was ranked number one for however long.
True, but I think it could be that one day. I mean, I certainly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, I guess I was going to say I talk about Roddick like that, but I also talk about. No, I do not. I do not talk. I don't. It's an added bonus when I'm talking about Agassi and Todd Martin,
right?
And and Pete Sampras. It's a little icing on the cake from the standpoint of everything else they did. Oh yeah, and they're also always ready to roll for the USA.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think it's more of a reflection on how much they care about their country / fans, that they're willing to represent their country every year. Like, to me, that's what I love about Roddick and the Bryan brothers, is not how many matches they won or lost in Davis Cup, it's that they played every year. And
right.
They were always out there representing us.
Well, there you go. One more reason. Hashtag comeback Andy. Roddick. Not
sadly, the wrong Andy's coming back.
Not sadly.
If
Come on, you animal.
Well, no, I'm saying if I had to choose between the two.
I agree completely. So, it just boils down to this for me, is that if it was once every 4 years for sure, people would be off the hook trying to. They'd be qualifying to play.
Oh yeah, and every player would play.
Yeah, we'd have a whole qualifying situation, and it would be a big deal.
Right.
So clearly, if the players don't care that much about it, why should we? The answer is we shouldn't. That was what I was waiting for.
I was actually pretty surprised how many friends I knew that went down there to watch it. I mean, then again, Texas doesn't have many options, but I was a little bit impressed because I think that, what percentage of the regular, I want to say tennis fan, but I'm going to say sports fan, what percentage of the regular sports fan knows what Fed Cup is? 10%?
I was going to say 8.352. No, you're right.
Davis Cup probably 5% higher, maybe.
You sexist. Yeah, you're exactly right. And because it's always on, it's even more confused. Like, what? Wait, what? Wasn't this just? Is this a replay? So if you're not educated on the sport,
and I'm sure people were like, USA lost. Why are they still playing?
That
which
too
to me is common,
which is all right because people don't understand the soccer system either,
right?
But the point being that there's a lot to be desired in terms of Davis Cup and Fed Cup as it pertains to maybe being an asset to growing our game as opposed to just
Well, and you talk about what my problem is. One of my biggest problems in any tennis event is, ironically, when the event gets down to one court. And for Fed Cup, it's always one court.
Right.
Because if you're not in a good match, like I guarantee the people that paid to watch Keys in that first round were not happy. And obviously, mainly because she lost, but also just because, like you said, the quality of play. But I'm the same way with the finals of a tournament. That's to me the least interesting.
Yeah.
Unless it's just two players that I haven't seen play that often, or going for something crazy.
Well, that is definitely just sort of a risk that you take, and that's all right. Generally, if you're watching any competitive environment, sometimes all the wrong people are going to lose, or all the wrong teams are going to lose, and you end up with a matchup that the league doesn't want, that the fans don't want, that nobody's going to pay for, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a risk, that's just built into competition. But to me, it's a lot less likely to happen if all the best players are playing. Now, Americans might not make it.
Right.
On the women's side, we got a better chance generally, but the women might not. The Americans might not make it through, but you're still going to have the best players available,
right?
To still play, which makes a difference. But
Yeah, I mean, it's always luck of the draw, but I do think the Davis Cup format of having all the matches going at once adds a little more interest for me, where we can go back and forth, and obviously still going to get down to the final at some point, and the final is interesting or is not interesting, but the final carries interest because it means more in anything.
Right.
So there is always that.
Right.
But
well, I just don't understand how there can be wringing of hands about the Davis Cup format when the bottom line is no one cares. So why do you care now all of a sudden? It just it doesn't match up with what's actually going on. And maybe, I don't know, I could be wrong. Maybe everybody does care. But the idea
I think
to
the
me,
first year they'll get a lot of people just because it's new.
It's new,
and then it'll go back to the same as before.
Maybe. But I will say this. One thing that infuriates me is they on the website, it says point blank, the World Cup of tennis. But yet you don't do anything the World Cup does. Well, you relegate. That's something. But it's like, shut up. You're not.
It's about two similarities, country versus country, and you move up and down based on your results.
That's it.
That's about the only two.
And those are
by
good.
the way, Laver Cup, nobody is going to see Laver Cup because it's Laver Cup. They're going because it's Federer and Nadal or Djokovic. That's the only reason. If it was, U.S. versus the world or Europe versus the world, and it was, 6 top 50 players from each country, nobody's going to see that. Or not as many.
But see, I could see a pathway. I hate to use that word. I could see a path that Davis Cup and Fed Cup could actually become or start acting like the World Cup of tennis. Then I think it does turn.
Oh yeah, I think it's possible for sure.
And I think that's the missing piece in terms of getting all the, because again, anywhere in anything Federer plays, it will be popular.
Right.
Well, why doesn't he care about Davis Cup? Oh, I don't know, because every single month he's got a chance to play in it.
Right.
And so he doesn't. And if he doesn't care, it doesn't matter. And that matters to people. They're not going to go support something that the players themselves just don't care that much about.
Right.
I know I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but that's why I said that's the main problem is it's every year. And so you don't build that anticipation. You don't make something, more scarce, which means, the demand for it will go up.
Well, and how long has the Olympics been in tennis? Or tennis been in the Olympics. It wasn't always in the Olympics, right?
Right.
So I know the Olympics are a different level, but everybody plays in that every year that they have it.
Yeah.
And so just having it less often, like you said, for sure is going to make participation go up. Secondly, I don't know how you raise the prestige of any event. I mean, the money's not going to entice Federer at all, unless it's just crazy.
Well, the prestige from my perspective, or should I say any fan's perspective, is the best players want to play it. So that's number one. So from my perspective, if Federer plays it, I'm in. If he
right, but I mean, what can?
And I'm
do?
using him for an example because obviously I don't care specifically about him that much.
We hate him, as we learned from Twitter.
Yeah, no, I mean what I mean is he's not driving me to things because I like that stuff anyway. But so for the general public, general fan, if he's not playing, it makes a big difference. Just like Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, y'all.
But I don't know what they can do to make him want to play. Is what I'm saying.
Right, make it. That's what make it once every. However,
I think that's about the only.
And it may
solution.
not be him anymore,
right?
Because the cat's out of that bag. It's too late.
Yeah,
but generally speaking,
because none of those players want to add 2 weeks to their schedule per year.
Yeah,
they already have enough.
Right. All right, this horse is dead. This horse.
But at least we didn't get relegated. That is something.
Oh, Lordy. Lordy.
Because
because
it's just really depressing.
It would be, but nobody cares, as we've discussed. So why does it really matter? And nobody knows what anything means. So
and they're still going to show it on TV and still going to promote it as Fed Cup. So most people that watch aren't even going to know. I bet even the people that went to Fed Cup didn't realize, this is like a consolation, match.
Right. Give me a percentage of every person in that arena.
Oh, how many knew that it was a consolation match?
Yeah.
Before they got there?
Yeah.
20%.
Holy moly.
I bet most people are just going, America's playing, Keys and Stevens are going to be there. Let's go watch it. Well, first of all, you got to buy tickets for all these events months in advance.
Yeah.
And, I think that's part of it. And even when you buy tickets for, a Mavericks game, you don't know until you get to the game, if you buy them in advance, if it's going to mean anything or not.
Right.
Now, obviously, when these went on sale, we already knew it was a consolation match, but I think a lot of people are just going to watch pro tennis. They're not even up on the format, and they don't watch it when it's on TV.
Well, speaking of popularity of events, when the best players either don't show up or can't, we'll talk about men's tennis when we come back.
It's time to join the revolution. Go to our website, tennisrevolutionpodcast.com, to get the latest episodes, email us your questions and comments, or give us show ideas.
Holy moly. I mean, it sounded like that whistling sound from World War II bombs dropping in terms of ticket sales dropping or attendance dropping when we got to the final of Monte Carlo. And first of all, Monte Carlo, can you think of a better kickoff to a Grand Slam series, as we like to call it, than Monte Carlo? Holy moly.
Well, I was thinking about you because when I was watching it,
you do. It's creepy.
My wife walked by and she said, "Wow, where's that?" Like, that was her first reaction to seeing it on TV.
Yeah,
and
let's go.
It just draws your attention immediately. When you turn it on. I actually think it's funny that you're saying ticket sales dropped because wouldn't those people have seen Nadal enough by now?
Great point. Not ticket sales, of course, but like the resale, market was off the hook.
Just basic interest in general.
Oh, man. So we had Monte Carlo, which is on the beautiful Mediterranean Sea, from what I've seen in pictures anyway. I've never been. Have you ever been?
I have not, sadly.
You haven't been out of the U.S., have you?
Canada, if you count that. Most people don't.
Canada is not in the U.S. Oh, you've been to Canada.
I have been to Canada.
I see.
Yes.
I see.
But when is the last time that Nadal and Djokovic were in a tournament, especially on clay, and neither were in the final? It's got to be a long time, I would think.
Well, that's what happens when you have three of the greatest the three greatest players in the history of the game. 3 Michael Jordans all at once.
Right.
It's incredible. By the way, Djokovic has 11, or did I say 7 wins on clay over Nadal.
I figured he had the most.
But
when we did our little bet a long time ago, that was when Djokovic was out. So we each had to name a player that would beat Nadal on clay. One of us said Fonini.
Okay, now that was also probably, what was that, like the 2012 French Open or something? Fonini was a junior,
and I think we said who could beat him in the French, which Fonini can't make it out of the second round of the French. So he never makes it far enough to play him, and actually him winning this will make it less likely he plays Nadal because he'll have to play him in like the quarters or semis.
Well, all right. So to refresh everyone's memory, we were discussing who can stop Nadal because that's all we ever want is for the big three to lose.
Right.
Not because we want them to lose, because by them losing, it validates even more when they win. It validates the value of the win in the next tournament or whatever.
And I think it was our either pre-French Open or maybe 1 week before that when he was just rolling through everybody on clay.
So with that in mind, we started picking not top, whatever, maybe not the big four or whatever. We were just sort of looking at generally who could stop him.
Yeah.
And my brilliant pick, I stand by it, was Benoit Paire.
Well, and they may not have even played on clay since then.
Now, for me, I got validation of that pick when someone on Twitter said that Fognini is a better version of Benoit Paire.
They do play pretty similarly.
Just a little bit.
Fognini's got I think one of his biggest edges on Nadal is just the personality.
Right.
That he really doesn't look like he cares when he's out there. And Nadal can't relate to that.
Yeah, I don't think he does care.
Right. And not Paire probably doesn't either. But
yeah, but he doesn't care like, I'm not going to be I'm out.
Right.
I'm out.
Well, and Fognini was down 6-4, 4-1 the first round. And I actually watched that match. And I was like, God, he looks horrible. And I think that Rublev had a point to go to 5-1. And Fognini comes back and wins a set. And I don't know why. I mean, you're the geography man. Oh, is Monte Carlo that close to Italy? Like, it seemed like there was a huge Italian fan base there.
Yeah, so it is between Italy and France.
Well, there you go. But it didn't seem like, now granted, not many French players made it that deep, but it didn't seem like the French were getting the same whatever respect from the fans as he did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because every match I watch, he was like the fan favorite, which to me is weird to watch Fognini be the fan favorite because he's not
because everybody
likable.
Hates him.
Right.
Yeah. So it is Monaco is a principality in between or touching both Italy and France.
And did you see Nadal pull the Serena Williams after the match?
Yes, I did. I was surprised.
That's really unusual for him.
He said, yeah.
I think he hates Fognini. That's why he did that.
Oh, that's a brilliant observation. Yeah, he just said, yeah, I played the worst match I've ever played. And
still lost 6-4.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that was a total Serena post-match interview. He played better than me, but it's because I played awful.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, 3 wins now Fognini has on Nadal on clay. And again, of course, obviously never in the French. But it's just funny, sort of fits into that kind of joking episode we did about what works against Nadal, and it's just that unpredictability, the kind of, doesn't look like he's that nervous. I think he just throws Nadal off of his rhythm. To me, that's the number one, is getting Nadal out of rhythm. And the problem is in a 3 out of 5 set match, Nadal is going to get in a rhythm at some point in the match.
Right.
And then you're just done. And I think at 2 out of 3, it's a little bit easier to keep him out of his rhythm.
Well, and people, when Djokovic lost.
God, are you telling me you're not doubting our prediction now? He looks horrible.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not at all. But when he lost, yeah, so he made it through. Cole Schreiber's a tough player, so that took him 3 sets. And he just
lost to him, so
that took him 3 sets.
That's got to mean something.
But then he rolled against the tough American. Oh, wait, no such thing. 3-0, Taylor Fritz, and then he lost in 3 to Medvedev, who was the 10th seed. It's not like the guy's nobody, but everybody's like, oh, I think it was the elbow, or maybe it was. I don't know. I don't really care, and it doesn't affect what I think he's going to do once we get to 3 out of 5 sets. Because I don't care what you say, if anybody can outlast Nadal on clay, it's the Joker. He's a beast, man.
And I think,
and younger.
Even for, I don't think this is true for Nadal because he's a confidence player, but I think for Federer and Djokovic, when they lose earlier in a tournament, I don't think I think in some ways they look at it, oh man, now I have a few days rest before the next tournament. I think it's, they can turn it into positive.
They might not think that, but it's true.
Yeah.
They get to chill out. And
that's why Federer didn't play this week. He could have played this. He doesn't want to play 3 clay court tournaments, all week long leading into the French.
Yeah, Nadal does because he's a maniac.
Yeah. He wants to win every clay court tournament on the calendar.
Yeah. Good Lord. Djokovic's career prize money is $129 million. Good Lord.
I know that I remember when he passed Federer and they were both around 100 at the time. I would assume Nadal is probably low hundreds, a little lower hundreds than that.
Yeah. Whew. All right, so let's see.
But it was pretty crazy having all the seeded players go out so early. The top seed, Team lost very meekly also, and he's supposed to be the second. I think most people put him above Djokovic.
Boy, what happened to that?
It was weird.
Prediction. Good gracious.
He looked really bad. He was down 5-0 first set. In the match he lost, which was to Lajovic. He made the final, so obviously he's playing well. We've had some weird Masters results this year. This is like the beginning of the downfall of the big three based on just the Masters. If you look at just the Masters finals, it's been very unpredictable.
But again, I don't think it's conscious, but I think you're right. I don't think it matters. No. It doesn't, because now he's got extra days off. And if it is his elbow, then obviously that does matter, and that does throw derails my prediction of a Djoker slam this year. But
they're still going to be top three of the top four seeds, which means they're not playing each other to the semis.
Right.
Who else can beat them, on a clay court match?
3 out of 5.
Right. I mean, Federer, somebody might, just because he hasn't played on clay, but the other two. But, Djokovic doesn't grind on clay like Nadal does.
Well, so, yeah, he kind of plays exactly the same.
Right.
So the eventual finalist, Fabio obviously is the champion, and that means he's also a finalist. But the loser, the runner-up, the second place, if you will, the first loser.
Unseeded.
If you're not first, you're last. I'm trying to think of all the...
I'm sure he doesn't think that this week.
No. Well, first of all, so unseeded, he plays... in the second round, he plays Goffin, beats him in straight sets. Then he plays Team, beats him in straight sets. And then he plays a qualifier. So it wasn't an easy, road for him. That's a 16 in the 4, and he missed out on playing Hachinov. Would have been, his seeded opponent, the highest seeded opponent in the next one, in that next round. Yeah. But he ended up playing Sonigo or Songo or whatever. And of course, everybody's freaking out, like, "Oh, if you haven't seen this kid, you don't know what you're missing." Shut up! You don't know what he was doing yesterday,
right?
But then you watch him the final, and it's like, "Oh, okay, the first game. Wow, this kid is good." Oh, there we go, there we go.
When it's not like he's not that young, is he? He's been around for a few years.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's on a straight upward trajectory. He hasn't been. Because I think he's been in the top 100 for at least 3 or 4 years. But maybe I'm wrong. Like, to me, Felix is a way higher trajectory than...
Oh, yeah.
Although I don't even know what happened to him in this tournament. He obviously lost early. But, yeah, this reminds me of the clay court tournaments of old, where you just get 2 random finalists. And I would call Fognini a clay court specialist, even though he doesn't play a clay court style necessarily. He's obviously played on that his whole life.
Yeah. And again, a clay court style versus the number one thing. The number one thing is being able to move on it properly. Sliding into the shot instead of sliding after the shot changes everything. I mean, coming through the shot after your racket's done, now your recovery step and boom, versus running to the ball, hitting it, sliding to a stop, and then your recovery step. I mean, that makes a huge difference. And so if you've been playing on, he's 28, by the way.
Yeah.
Dusan
That's why I was like, he's been around a while.
Yeah, exactly. He's 48 right now. Let it go.
Which is probably, high for him, I would assume, but still.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was funny that, Fognini playing that style, but, he can.
Career high, 42.
Yeah, so he's pretty close.
2.5 months ago.
Yeah.
So.
He's pretty close to his max. But yeah, I mean, watching Fognini play, it was interesting because, he has, you and I probably have more of these than most people just because we're so passionate about tennis, but Fognini has one match that I will never forget, and it's that match against Monfils at the French, where they played in to darkness.
Yeah.
And that just to me is, I will always remember that match. And, there's certain matches like that we'll always remember. And like I said earlier, it's usually not the finals. It's these, marathon mid-round matches that something crazy happens. And that, I remember that being, well, it's also just 2 crazy guys.
Well, so the fact that we suck at clay court tennis as far as Americans, which is the point of this whole podcast, actually, unfortunately, makes the case you made and agrees with the case you made some podcast back. I think it started with the one you were all by yourself.
About American style of play. Yeah,
that we just can't keep balls in play. Our shot tolerance is a good word. Our shot tolerance is very low. And a lot of things affect your shot tolerance. But one thing that can certainly help your shot tolerance is playing on a surface that you can't hit through people.
Right.
So then guess what you do? You stop trying to hit through people.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a basic concept of tennis. It frustrates me to watch Americans lose that way.
Right.
It's like, to me, when I play a match against, obviously I'm not researching my opponent and watching them play, but I know after 3 or 4 games whether I can hit through the person or not. And if I can't, I give up on that pretty quickly.
Well, if you've seen your backhand, you know most of the time.
I know going into any match, I can't hit through the person.
It's pretty.
But, I mean, I don't, like you said about Fognini, which you said I think is a positive for him, but I think the Americans don't even change their strategy when they're playing on clay versus hard.
Well, you take somebody like Keys, one of the things that is sort of the inverse of what most people say, oh, she can't hit through people, she's going to struggle on clay. Well, the inverse part of that, it could be also true that even if she's playing somebody as good as Halep, that ball is going to sit up even more when she's getting a ball from somebody like Halep, and she's going to be in even better position to tattoo it, and she will tattoo a forehand, and that's a bonus for her if the ball's sitting right in her strike zone more times. Because on a hard court, you wonder why she sprays all over the place. Well, because the ball's lower, it's skidding through, it's getting on you quicker. You don't have as much time to set up, and so it looks sloppier.
If she goes into a match and tries to rally with Halep, that's not going to win.
Well, that too.
So, I mean, there is something to be said of playing for your strengths, but I feel like all the Americans have the same strengths. That's what irritates me. It's like, how can we have, between the men and the women, we've got probably 25, 30 players in the top 100, and they all play the same style. All of them are women. They all play the same style, unless they're 6'8" or taller.
Yeah,
then they play that style.
Yeah, I would say that starting off children on clay, even if it's green, American, gross, Hartrue, at least it forces you to play longer points, to develop that higher shot tolerance.
Well, and think about France. They've got Gasquet, Monfils, and Simone. Those guys, none of those 3 guys play anything similarly whatsoever.
Right.
So obviously in a country as small as France, they've got people teaching different styles of play.
Or kids are naturally gravitating towards based on their personalities. Although I will say, that's a big part of it. Your personality type is a big part of the game style you play. However, closing your eyes and swinging out of your shoes is not actually a style of play.
Right.
It's the most asinine version of a style of play.
Right.
And not very smart most of the time.
And remember, there was a little, luckily it was brief, but there was a period in tennis where it looked like tennis was sort of going that way. Maybe
with
6
the serve.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, the serve, and remember when Nadal lost that match to Rosal, and he was just hammering every ball as hard as he could, and Verdasco did the same thing, and it was like...
And Delpo won a U.S. Open that way.
Right. I was like, please don't let this be what tennis is going to be. Let's just hit every ball as hard as we can, and if they go in, we win. And luckily, it's gone back more to the baseline grinding. I mean, not that that's necessarily amazing to watch either, but...
Well, it depends on who's doing it and who they're doing it against. I'm telling you, the next evolution, or devolution, it depends, because the net. Good Lord, please somebody use the net. Please somebody use the net.
I was actually shocked, and it makes me kind of wonder if Nadal was telling the truth about his injuries. He was coming to the net like crazy when I saw him. Like, he played Bautista. I need to look up the stats, but I bet he was at the net 25, 30 times. And his volleys were so easy because he had Bautista running like crazy.
Right.
But, I mean, if you can't learn from Nadal, who can beat anybody from the baseline, going the net and finishing points, I don't know what other example you need.
Well, and Fognini was doing a good job of that.
Yeah.
He'd get a ball in the middle of the court, give him that little skinny inside out on his forehand, and then follow right behind it. And the guy was, whoever his opponent happened to be in whatever particular round, and he would come in and easy volley. He doesn't. He's not Boris Becker diving, digging out low volleys. He's strategically finishing the point earlier because he can.
Right. Well, and what percentage from 0 to 100 do you think of Fognini losing first round next week?
98.735.
That's pretty high.
Yeah. It's not nice.
Which, again, is not, you'd rather win a tournament, lose first round, than make the round of 16 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
From a points and a money perspective. So I don't think he's going to care if he does lose first round, into the next tournament.
Well, and the other side of that is this is a big accomplishment, and now maybe it's some weight off his shoulders, and so now maybe he can come in and play real loose. I mean, looser than he does normally, I guess, really is what, who knows?
Yeah, good point. But yeah, he could. I mean, he's flirting with he'll be like potentially like a top 8 seed in the French, which, does make it interesting. Because before this tournament, I would have probably still put him as a top 5, top 8, clay court player in the world. But it's hard to say. I don't know if you saw that what they're doing now on Tennis Channel is the clay court UTR and the hard court UTR. And it's like, how do you know what a clay court UTR? No one's played a clay court match in the last 8 months.
Right.
Like, how do you know what their clay court UTR is? Because it always factors in your last, X number of days or X number of matches. And Team wasn't in the top 10, by the way.
Right.
On the clay court UTR. I'm like, so Team, you're telling me he's not a top 10 clay court player?
Well.
And I think they had Djokovic as 1 or 2.
No, if you judge from the fact that he won 1 match at
I know, and then
Monte Carlo.
And that was before this tournament, so what is it now? If he wasn't top 10 now, he's got to be even worse now.
Yeah. They've got to – again, our brilliant idea is every tournament, every Grand Slam, it needs to be seeded based on the previous series leading up to it. So
totally. Going into the French right now, Fonini should be the 1 seed. Federer should be unseeded. And now, unless you want to do an injury protection and make it a 2-year rolling thing or something.
I think you would have to. I think you would have to factor in world ranking as well to some degree, because then you have situations where Federer doesn't need to play it to beat all these chumps. #weakest era, and still be fine. But
when we've talked about, they don't want to screw up their draw by having Federer, Nadal the first week.
Yeah.
So any tournament, they're always going to do whatever they can to avoid that.
So Monte Carlo started with a bang and ended with a whimper. I think
totally. And I feel like we always are saying that, but no one can be happy about a Fonini-Lajovic final.
Well, when it's the first round and you get Struff beating Shapovalov in 3, you're like, okay. That's a bang.
Right.
It's not...
And Shapovalov plays American tennis too, by the way, which worries me.
Yeah. But he's young. I think he's got a little more
he's got
seasoning.
Yeah.
So you have something like that happen, you're like, oh, okay, no problem. It's a result. But then you get to, the 3rd round and there's, more... unbold names and bold names with numbers next to them. You're like, okay, wait a second.
It's sort of like when you have upsets in the NCAA tournament, and then you get to that, 3rd round, and it's a 12 and a 13, or, and it's like, oh, well, I'd much rather have a 13 versus a 1 than a 12 versus a 13.
Yeah.
So that's the more fireworks early on, it usually has to simmer down a little bit.
Yeah, you have to have a mix of fireworks. Yeah. But
there were no seeds left in that thing after, by the time I got to the quarters, it was a graveyard of seeds.
It was more than half, I think.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, I was wrong.
9 seeds that were in the round of 16.
Yeah. So it was 9 seeded, 7 unseeded.
Okay.
So that's not too bad, but still, actually, it is because it's almost half.
Right.
Are gone.
And I think it was only and
you're supposed to be all there.
I think it was like a 48 draw, so a third of the players were seeded.
Yeah, so I guess really the seeded players, it's more than half,
right.
But it should be 100% theoretically.
Right.
So actually having 7 gone is pretty bad.
Exactly. And 2 out of the final 4 unseeded. That's really unusual for a Masters.
Right. And the 2 ones that were seeded, you had Nadal, which was a 2, and then you had a 13 and a 10 and an unseeded. So you're like, eh.
Yeah.
Anywho, so Monte Carlo, what do we conclude from that? Nothing. I'll tell you what, nothing. Is Fonini going to win the French?
No, not at all.
Are Djokovic and Nadal still the 2 favorites?
God, I'm having more doubts than you are about Djokovic.
Well, I'm having doubts about both of them because you worry every time they don't, win a match that something's wrong.
Because that's the only time they ever don't. Is
really?
Something's catastrophic.
Now that's not me being a homer for either of them because I don't care.
Right.
I did pick a Joker slam, but I don't like him.
Right.
And his dumb Lego hair and his heart thing that he throws his heart out to everybody.
Oh, you're so anti-Federer.
But when they lose, you got to worry.
Right.
And I don't watch, Sky News or whatever in other countries where they actually cover this stuff.
I will say from watching Nadal, I'm not worried. I didn't see signs of injury when he was playing, except maybe, like I said, about going to the net a little bit more. But I saw no issues with movement or being able to rally or be able to hit the ball deep. I didn't see any issues with his strokes or movement. But then again, I remember that year he made either the third or fourth round of the French and then withdrew, like out of the blue, and said his wrist or whatever. So, I mean, I think he's good at masking it while he's playing.
He's old as dirt.
Yeah. And
that's an issue.
And I think he said something in his post-match about, right now my minimum is kind of 70%, but I don't know if I'm going to be 70 or 100, going into that day. And he goes, the minimum just keeps dropping, every year. But no, Djokovic what I've always worried about Djokovic, even though we've said he's going to be the best player of all time, is he doesn't have an easy way to win points. Nadal has an easy way to win points on clay.
Yeah.
Djokovic does not have an easy way to win points on clay. And so he's going to have to, grind through 7 matches on his worst. I don't know if Wimbledon, I don't know if grass or clay is his worst surface, but definitely worse than hard court.
Yeah. Well,
but I think you can't say Team is top 2 after he got, he would be the only other one, and he's certainly not top 2 after that, nor is Zverev.
Well, if you had $1,000, no, you're super rich. So whatever, give me a number. If you had $10,000, not you,
and I could disperse it anywhere I wanted.
No, all on one player.
Oh, okay.
Not that I endorse gambling. The show does not.
Well, see, I agreed with you on Joker Slam, and I was just about to say Nadal with no hesitation. But I have to say Nadal just because of how bad Djokovic has looked since the Australian.
Yeah. But my point being is you're not putting it on any of these other suckers.
No.
And I'm telling you right now, I don't care who says what on Twitter or any other place, if they had to take an amount of money that would financially hurt them and put it on a player,
right,
they wouldn't put it on any of these jokers either.
Right. And if I could split it, I'd do probably about 75-25 Nadal and Djokovic.
Ooh-wee. 0, huh? 0 on the Fed Express.
Oh, 0 for sure.
Hey, Twitter guy or whoever, email
we're talking about no odds.
Email this dum-dum now that he talked bad about Federer.
I'm talking about no odds. If you factor the odds in, it's different.
I don't know how odds work, so forget it.
Well, they won't. Federer will be like, he'll be like 3-1.
I'm just talking about straight up. Just
no. I wouldn't put any money on Team or Federer.
Wow. Well, I'm all in on Joker. Yeah. So, and again, it's a ways off, and everything changes, of course, if he's injured.
Right.
Which, sorry, my predictions don't factor in random injuries. I'm not a doctor.
I can't wait to see Federer play on clay. That is something I'm excited about.
Yeah, you know why? Because he hasn't done it.
Right.
And so if you don't do something for 2 or 3 years, it makes it more exciting. It makes it more exciting.
Oh, yeah. And people better get their tickets to the early rounds, too. Because who knows?
Ouch.
But yeah, that's why tournaments, do that. They're not trying to sell you tickets based on who's in the match. They're trying to sell you everything up front.
Oh,
because they know they don't know who's in the final.
Yeah. Well, weakest era, you can pretty much guess. But anyway, all right. So that's Monte Carlo. We've got Barcelona.
Flock of Seagulls.
No, that was My Sharona.
Yeah, I thought Flock of Seagulls was the singer, was the group.
No, that's And I run so far away.
Yeah, well, I wasn't.
Gotta get away.
Who was My Sharona?
My Sharona was
Dexy's Midnight Runners.
The Knack.
Oh, I would have never known that in 100 tries.
Because you're a loser.
Well, that's depressing. I thought I was going to impress you there with my 80s music knowledge.
No, you did not. You rarely impress me, if at all.
With any knowledge.
Yeah. So Barcelona coming up, and thank goodness, men's only.
I wonder if Nadal's the 1 seed.
Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Yes. So Nadal is the uno seed, and the mighty Zverev is the 2.
So Novak's not playing.
Never heard of him. You can't win a Grand Slam from Barcelona, okay? You can't. You got to make it to Paris for that. So we've got Thiem is the 3 seed. Apparently, Barcelona had no idea what went on in Monte Carlo, apparently. And Nishikori is the 4.
Oh, God.
And Fonini is the 8, baby. Come on, back-to-back, foe. Back-to-back.
What's your over-under on how many rounds Zverev makes it through?
Well, I guarantee you he wins his first match.
Bye.
Yeah, he beat Bye. He's already advanced.
It's about the only opponent he could beat.
So he's going to have Nicholas Yari, lucky loser, or qualifier, Granollers. And then if he makes it past that, then he will have either Fernando Verdasco going to the Wayback Machine, Feliciano Lopez.
Oh, he's no chance of making it through that round.
Or Grigor Dimitrov is the seed who's already through. So
I was actually impressed with Grigor this tournament.
Yeah, oddly enough.
Yeah, which we don't say that very often.
So Zverev is going to win. He won by... Oh, boy.
I'm not shocked if Yari beats him, but...
I am not either. That's what I'm trying to make my pick here. See, we don't do predictions. We just like making fun of players that deserve it.
Right.
Man, is he going to make it past his first match? Oh, man, because that's the match he'll lose.
And he is the kind of player that...
Yes.
The only positive I can say about him is that he's sort of got the Halep syndrome where he will either lose first round or make the semis. You know, he doesn't go in between.
Well, yeah.
So I feel like his odds that go up every round, he advances.
Yeah. Man. What do you do? What do you do?
I don't see him beating Verdasco or Lopez.
I think he'll make it past the first round, and that's it.
That's what I think.
I think he wins one match.
Which, I mean, we're saying that about the number 2 seeded player. And I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That we have to, it takes that long to decide if he can win a first round match.
That's because the depth of this era is so good.
Right. The top
that the number so 70 player in the world can beat the 3 player in the world. That's how good. Right. It drives me insane.
And the number 3 player in the world can lose, or the number 2 player can lose first 2 rounds every tournament. And still be the number 2 player in the world.
It's incredible. It's incredible. So on the women's side, I mean, the only reason this matters, it's a smaller tournament, is because Osaka is playing in Stuttgart.
Okay.
Get your Mercedes-Benz or whatever's made in Stuttgart. So Halep is the 2, Osaka is the 1. Man, oh man.
I think between her and Djokovic, they've won about 4 matches this year since the Australian.
Right. So we got Halep. Here's the C's. We got Halep, or Osaka 1, Halep 2, Kvitova the 3. Let's see.
They got everybody.
Yeah,
Caroline, no.
Pliskova, yep.
No, Wozniacki.
No. Okay. Kerber. Well, I thought she was
Carolina.
Pliskova is the 4. Kerber's the 5. Kiki Bertens is the 6, and Sevastova is the 7. That's enough.
Yeah.
But that'll be fun.
Well, those are 2. I mean, for non-Masters events, those are 2 pretty good fields.
Yeah, not bad.
So you can tell that's people are really starting to gear up.
Gear up. Yep. Agreed. And don't forget, men's 250 in Budapest.
Give me
Marin Cilic is the 1. Wild card 1, by the way.
He's decided he didn't want to lose early in the other tournament, so he's going here instead.
And then Coric is the 2. Cecchinato 3. Basilavishvili is the 4.
And that's to me so funny. Like, I would think as a pro athlete who's got to have some level of ego or arrogance that you would always sign up for the bigger event. Like, that's just so strange to me. That's like,
maybe he planned on making it far at Monte Carlo and not playing this week.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get into the other one.
But I mean, all those guys, not just him.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just weird to me to go. I mean, I guess they're going with the mindset of I need match time, so I got to make sure that I'm.
Yeah, they just want to get on clay. Yeah,
but I still think it's just a weird concept to me to choose a smaller venue to play.
Yeah. So,
and I mean, some of it travel related, I'm sure.
Sharapova. Playing in a 125 in China.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Sabina Sharapova from Uzbekistan. Sorry.
Is that the one that played for SMU?
I don't know.
One of the Sharapovas played for SMU.
I don't know.
Or plays or something, but I have not heard a word about Sharapova. Obviously she's injured, but I've not.
I saw a Twitter article somewhere about that maybe it was clickbait about her potentially retiring. Who knows?
Well, yeah, which wouldn't change anything because we haven't seen her for months.
Yeah, exactly.
And Serena MIA also.
All right, so what do we got? Is that enough? Is that enough for?
I think that's it. We're still reeling from the big week of tennis. And it's kind of like a roller coaster leading up to the French. It's up and down week to week.
Yeah. The levels are all wacky, like which tournaments are which.
Right.
All right. Well, Monte Carlo didn't end up like a lot of people wanted it to, mostly ticket holders, and I think it means nothing for the French. I'm still picking the Djoker Slam, which means he has to win the French, obviously. And barring injury, if I had $10,000 to put on it, I wouldn't because that's stupid.
I think that we are still on a streak in 2019 of 0 repeat master winners, which is certainly not something we would have bet on.
Yeah.
And I think it maybe even goes back even a lot farther than that, like back to October, November.
Oh, interesting.
But
the stat man, I don't believe one word you say, but it could be.
It's a good idea not to don't look it up to verify whether it's right or wrong.
All right. Well, do you have a corner today?
I don't.
Thank you. Whew. I feel bad.
I can't brag about Fonini only for so long.
Well, first of all,
he didn't kick over the water bottles, though. I was a little disappointed in that.
Yeah, but first of all, again, they focus. You know what? I was about to say they focus mainly on, as in the big three, focus mainly on the Grand Slams. But to Nadal's credit, he wears this clay court season out.
He does.
I mean, so it's not. So really, in that regard, beating him in any clay court tournament is just as good as any other turn. You know what I mean?
Right. So, and people act like he dominates clay every year, which he does, but he generally loses twice a year leading into the French.
Yeah.
He loses once, on either Barcelona or Monte Carlo, and then he loses once either Madrid or Rome. And he doesn't win all four going into the French. So I'm not putting alarm bells off yet.
Yeah.
But if he loses again the next one, this week, that
trouble. Trouble. All right.
Disconcerting.
And if he pulls a ripcord at some point, hopefully it's just preventative and not because something's hurt him.
Yeah, hopefully it's to make sure that he can play the French.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Fed Cup. Glad to see you're here. That did round out the women's week for me, though. At least you got to see some of the top women play.
It was kind of funny because you had no women's tennis all week, and then all of a sudden the weekend they took over.
Yeah, and it was everything because nobody cared about the finals. Exactly. Monte Carlo. Oops, I meant to have stuff. Anyway. All right. Well, I saw a podcast that they must have way more listeners than we do.
I didn't know that was possible.
That's true. I don't care about listeners. I care about downloaders. Download and throw your phone.
You're all about the numbers.
Yeah. No, but they had hundreds and hundreds of reviews. And I don't know if that's because we never really mentioned that. And I don't even know how much it matters. It's got to matter, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's the Yelp of podcasts, right? I mean, if you go in and give it 5 stars, and if you don't bother.
Right.
So, go to your Apple phone has a podcast app. Go to that. Go into ours and rate and review it. Give it nothing but 5 stars. I mean, why else, would you even go on there if you're not going to help us out? And rate and review. And I don't know what that does, but it's got to do something.
Right.
It's got to do something.
Well, I think it does. It appears next to our name what our rating is.
Oh, there you go.
In theory.
And maybe more people look at it and say, oh, wow, that's a fancy podcast. All right, so in the meantime, follow us at Tennis Rev Pod on Twitter. Now, on Twitter, I will send stuff out from time to time, retweet stuff time to time, and really the most fun I have is roasting Prince. Not the singer. He is a musical genius, right. And we lost him far too soon. But, I mean, Prince rackets. Every time they send out a tweet, it's just asking for it. It's just asking.
I don't even think they have a comment. I think it's just one guy running their Twitter account.
His name is Prince. Hey, maybe Prince is still alive, and he gave up the music business, faked his own death, and now he's running Prince rackets.
He's still holding on to that Prince racket.
Yeah, so little known fact, he was named after the racket.
Yeah. We tried that with Fila, and we got backlash. Prince has not provided us any backlash.
Because, like I said, I think it's robotic. It's just
right. There's no actual people to defend them.
Yes, there's not a company. Everybody that has Prince rackets are really using other names with Prince painted on it. So anyway, that's what you get on Twitter, which they don't send out much, or if they do, I don't see it a lot. But anywho, all right. So Instagram. Now there's something new about Instagram, and I don't know if you'll care or not out there. You might not. You might. Corey doesn't care. I know that for a fact. So Instagram, we have promised to never send out a picture. And I won't, even though that's what it's for. So follow us at Tennis Revolution Pod on Instagram, and I promise you'll never get a picture. But I think I found a loophole. I've got a loophole. I'm beating the system. So what somebody suggested that I do is get 30-second-ish clips of Corey saying something smart. So I'm gonna have to look through a lot of shows. I'm gonna have to do it like a serial killer.
It's gonna have to be a merge of 30 shows to get.
Well, I'm gonna have to do it like a serial killer where I cut out letters from a magazine and ransom notes.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have to do that. A clip
it's
out one.
I agree with you. 30 seconds in a row.
Could be, or I'll find somewhere where you said the word "the," and then I'll find somewhere where you said Sampras, and then some.
That sounds like a
greatest
future lawsuit
ever, and yeah, so we'll get it going. But they suggested that I put together some little 30-second type clips, and then have a static background, and then send those out on Instagram.
Just a little taste.
Is that breaking the rules?
No,
it's tough.
I don't think you ever said. Did you ever say I won't post anything?
I never said I won't post.
Or did you ever say I won't? I think you only said I won't post
take
photos,
dumb pictures, and put them up there. I think that's, and either way, I'm sure that's what I said, but also that's certainly what I meant.
Right.
Technically, I didn't even really know you could do anything else, to be honest with you. This is new to me. So this suggestion dumbfounded me when he said it. So I don't know. We've got to give it some thought. Corey literally never returns my texts ever. And I'm using the word literal the correct way. He literally never returns my texts. So,
not true, folks. Not true.
I'll text him, hey, you want to record next Sunday at whatever time? Nothing. 3 days later, I get to the mailbox. There's a letter. Yeah, I'll be there at 5:30.
See you normal time.
Yeah. That was not funny at all. Sorry. So anyway, we've got to give that some thought. And so even though he never answers my texts or phone calls, we will have to discuss it somehow.
We would hate to give you a reason to actually add us.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So anyway, that's what I think we may potentially do after we talk to the lawyers here at the podcast and see if it meets the standards of our previous promise.
Right.
So, all right. So follow us on those places. Review, however you can do it. Spread the word. For the love of all things holy, spread the word. We do absolutely nothing. That's not true. We do a little bit, but it's so ineffective and inefficient. It's almost like not doing anything at all.
We want to be fan-driven.
Well, I don't know that we have fans per se, but...
Well, that's why I said want to be, not that we are.
But I think it's up to you out there to do all the work to spread the word.
Tennis players are used to that because...
That's true.
Nobody cares about tennis until they talk about it.
We care.
Right.
Which is why we're here, and particularly about American tennis because, come on. It's America. So, anyway, all right, you got nothing else?
That's it.
Thank goodness. Spread the word. Let's get ready for some clay court season. I'm so fired up clay court is here. Can't ever get too tired of looking at the Mediterranean Sea. And until next time, thanks for joining the revolution.
Bye, guys.
Share e